Hey guys, today I'm going to be explaining to you how we made £100,000 within a 3-month period. This was on the first property that we purchased. It's a residential property, it's where we live, it's not a buy-to-let, and this is applicable to everybody. If the numbers that you're looking at are considerably less or considerably more, the same principles apply. So please listen along, ask any questions that you've got, and I'll do future videos on it. And I'm hoping you can take something away from this and apply it to your own situation. Diving into the numbers, we purchased the property for £350,000. When we purchased the property, there was no stamp duty to pay because it was during COVID, and they temporarily reduced the stamp duty threshold to 0% up to £500,000 purchase price. The refurb cost about £20,000. I think had I not have done a lot of the work myself, that would have more likely been closer to £30,000. But again, the numbers still work. Legal and other fees were approximately 2k, bringing the total purchase and build cost to 372,000. Some of you will have a deposit saved, some of you will not. Some will be large deposits, others smaller. I think the thing worth considering here is there are products on the market for mortgages available for 5-10%. Plus property prices range as well. So for example, if you were going to be buying £70,000 property, which are available in the northeast, for example, then a 10% deposit would be £7,000, which I get it, it's difficult to save, but it is also achievable. £7,000 is an amount of money that you would hopefully be able to save over a couple of years within a relatively normal job. Plus, if you can ask individuals that you know or don't know, or you can go halves with somebody else to purchase it, there are ways. I think the important thing here is just because you don't have it at the moment, or you can't currently see a way of you having that money right now, there almost certainly is a way. You just have to keep at it. And that's all I can say. You just have to be tenacious. And if you look at I can't even believe I'm about to use this as a reference point, but someone like Donald Trump, he did have family money. However, he didn't have family money to do what he did. He mostly went to investors and raised money to do what he did. So there are ways of doing it. You just need to be educated and you need to be convincing enough that others will believe in yourself and that you are able to invest their money or partner with them to invest their and your money and move it forward. So the project took 3 months to complete, and from complete, I mean the date that we got the keys, it took 3 months to do all of the work to it. That could have been condensed to maybe 4 to 6 weeks if I hadn't done lots of the work myself, but we were not in a position where we had great cash flow that we could go and pay others to do all of the work. So I did do a large part of that work. The property was then revalued at £450,000. Which meant that we added £100,000 of value to the property. So from 350 to 450. The bank was able to provide us with a further advance. And what this means is essentially an additional mortgage on your current mortgage for the difference. The bank essentially send a surveyor out to come and value the property, and they say, yeah, it's worth 450,000. Therefore, we're happy to lend you an additional X amount on that value. So in our case, the bank said, we'll lend you at a 75% loan to value, which means that for every £100,000, they would give us £75,000. This was huge in our ability to continue with property because that £75,000 then became the deposit for our second flat. And you can see where we're going here. You buy a property, you add value to it, you refinance it, you pull the cash back out, or as much as you'd like to given your risk profile, and you go and buy another property and you try to do the same thing. The numbers do not always work, and sometimes you will need to inject cash as you move from property to property. So what did we actually do to the flat to add £100,000 worth of value? A lot. We did a fair amount, and you are kidding yourself if you think that you're going to go into a flat, just give it a coat of paint and suddenly the bank's going to give you an extra £100,000. It doesn't work like that. What lots of people do, and one of the easiest opportunities to look out for, is converting a studio to a 1-bed, a 1-bed to a 2-bed, or a 2-bed to a 3-bed. And if you can do all of that with very minimal building work, and what I mean by that is just adding in stud wall, which is a wall made out of wood and plasterboard, instead of having to do loads of structural work like full loft conversion or adding an extension or something like that. So that's exactly what we did here. So just running through a floor plan here, and apologies it's a bit cut off. We've got the before picture on the left. So you can see the kitchen dining room is two distinct rooms. So you've then got a bathroom there, and then you've got two bedrooms at the top of the drawing, and then you've got a very large reception room which measures 6.5 meters by 4 meters. So if you look at what we've done on the after, we've actually moved the layout around slightly. So we've got two bedrooms at the top, and then that reception room is split into a bedroom and a living room. And we've added in an additional door to that living room there from the hallway. We've increased the size of the storage room to create a small office area, and we've changed the layout of the bathroom. I'll get into further detail here, but that's super important. The bathroom was a key factor, and the dining room kitchen was the other key factor. And within the kitchen diner, it was previously two separate rooms. We've made it open plan here, and we've made it really inviting and appealing. So I'm going to now dive into the detail of all the specific areas. Firstly, we'll go into the kitchen and dining room. And worth noting here that the pictures here look way better than it actually was. This was a complete landlord special. Artex on the ceilings, which is horrible because it was really in your eye line. The floor is roll-out vinyl, and you can't really see it here, but within that dining space where the fridge is, should be in the kitchen, but it's not because there was no space for it in their existing layout, was really narrow. Plus that radiator there made it feel even more narrow. So we looked at this, we looked at the shape, we looked at how we could envisage making that a really warm and inviting space. And this is what we did with it. We knocked out some of that wall. That meant that the light from that window really came through, and it just opened up the space. We had it plastered and we had spotlights put in as well. Again, the idea here was just to really open it up. Nice smooth walls, nice reflective surfaces for all of that light, and just to bring it up to date really. And here's the finished product. I personally think we've done a great job with this. Again, appreciate everyone's got different styles, but this was a relatively cost-effective way to bring this up to date and to create a really nice warm environment with kind of two distinct spaces. A couple of the points that I really love here, we've got the spotlights for the kitchen, which some of the comments in other videos have said that they look like a landing strip, so cheers guys. And we've got the more yellow lights in the dining room area, which you can dimmer down and make that a really nice environment as well. I love the fact that we got the LVT on the floor. This is the glue down LVT, which is really forgiving, which is great if the floor isn't perfectly even. A couple of other wins here. We've managed to get the fridge into the kitchen area, which is just sat under the microwave. Plus on the bottom left-hand side, which is actually hidden by my camera, we were able to put the washing machine there instead of just being in a random space in the house. We had to lift up the floorboards and run the waste pipe underneath. Okay, so moving on to the bathroom. This was another area of the house that really needed updating. Again, this picture looks better than it actually was. The tiling was horrible. There was about 3 layers of tiles on the walls. Again, landlord special. If you enjoy peeing standing up, you couldn't. The way that the roof slants and the bath screen meet meant that you had to basically kind of crouch while stepping into the shower. And then because the bath is also raised, when you were stood under the shower, and I'm under 6 foot, shout out Short Kings, you were struggling. So we basically looked at this and just thought, how can we bring it up to speed? How can we open the space up? How can we make it more functional? And ultimately, how do we turn this bathroom into a selling point instead of a negative? Because I believe that this bathroom was one of the reasons that we were able to get this property at a reasonable price for the area. Okay, so once we'd ripped everything out, it was time to envisage what it would look like. So you can see here, I've got a piece of plywood there trying to shape the shower out, trying to get a feel for it. And I think we've done a really great job here. As you can see, here's the final article. Loads of headroom in the shower space. It's all replastered, so no more Artex. You're now able to have a stand-up pee, which is great. Plus, the only corner of the room with restricted headroom now has a bath in it. So we've basically made the horrible space in the corner that wasn't very functional into a nice cozy bath area, which is great. This bathroom now does have some plants in it. It looks a bit warmer. This bathroom now does have some plants in it and feels much warmer. This was it when it was first done. One of the other things I'd like to draw your attention to, which is a great tip for anybody with a smaller bathroom, is the vanity unit under the sink. I deliberately used the narrowest type of vanity I could use, which is actually a piece of old furniture. And the reason being is if you can allow your eye to go from the front of the room all the way to the back of the room, it gives this feeling of space, which if that was a big chunky unit, it would just feel really claustrophobic. So I think we've done a great job there of opening that up. So another area of the house we made significant changes to is the hallway and office. When we first went to the flat, you got this feeling when you walked into the hallway. It's a big space, it feels like a wasted space, it's a bit strange, you've got this weird serving hatch. I'm sure we could have put a shoe rack there or a shoe bench or something, but ultimately it's not really a space that we would have used very much. Plus you had doorways there which kind of just made it feel a bit claustrophobic and didn't really add to the flow of the house. As we were doing so much work to the rest of the house and we were considering replastering everything anyway, we thought it made sense to try and expand that storage space and create another usable space, which is exactly what we did. So we ripped out the archway in the hallway to allow for a free-flowing hallway, and we pulled down the wall for the cupboard as well, which, as you can see, there's a fuse box on the right, which we had to move as well because of that. So we put the wall back up, the stud wall back up. That was my first ever attempt at doing a stud wall and hanging a door, and it went quite well, to be fair. So proud of myself there. And then we had it plastered, so it's looking really good. Obviously this isn't painted at this point, but it really opened the room up and just made it really inviting and a nice place to come into as well. This is probably where we added the most value to the property. So obviously updating bathrooms and kitchens is great. Adding additional rooms like an office is also great, but adding an additional bedroom to a 1 or a 2 bed is obviously a great way to add value, and is a way that banks can easily recognise value as well. So a bank will send a surveyor out to come and revalue the property, and there is a methodology behind it, but it can be somewhat subjective. So if you can clearly articulate we've added a bedroom, then it's quite clear that they can reference that there's additional value there as well. So what we did was take the old reception room. We did try and have this as our bedroom for a while, but it was just too big. You can imagine you just end up with furniture all around the outside and then this massive space in the middle of the room that you have nothing to do with. Whereas we, and the way that we live, we would much rather have multiple rooms for different functions than just have one big space like that. So we essentially put the door in when we were doing all of the works, and then later on down the line we put the partition in. And a partition is just stud work, which is wood with plasterboard at either side, so super easy to do. Again, the wall here hasn't been plastered and painted, but you get the gist. We split the room into 2 really decent sized functional areas. For reference, that is a queen size bed, so it's bigger than a standard bed, and that room with a bed in it has become the living space as well. So you can imagine like a nice L-shaped sofa in there, big window, lots of light, it's fantastic. The other room, then again, loads of storage, big window, nice light, and is a great size double room. This is the only room in the house that we didn't touch, and this is the other bedroom. And the reason we didn't touch it is because it had a new carpet in there, although it's not a carpet we would have picked. One of the walls was already skimmed and it was all painted fresh and white anyway. So any work we would have done, it would have been to essentially change the flooring, replaster it all, but there wasn't much point in us doing that unless we were going to change the windows from single to double glazing. So it just seemed like a £5,000 expense that just wasn't necessary at the time. Running through what we did, there are a few key areas to add value to a property. One is to add the additional bedroom. The other was to add an office space, which felt appropriate as loads of people were working from home during COVID. And then we updated the bathroom and the kitchen and dining room. Total cost was around £20,000 for the refurb, and the added value to the property from purchase to refinancing was £100,000. So I think a lot of you would agree that £100,000 increase in value over a 3-month period, which is capital gains tax free because it's your own personal home if you were to sell, is probably one of the easiest £100,000 you're going to get. Now, this was an exceptional property. It was bought at a good price, timing was good, and I had the capacity to do lots of the work myself. So not every deal is going to look as good as this, but it is possible. If you like this type of content, then please let me know in the comments. If you prefer short form, also let me know. And if there are any questions or anything that I went through within that video that you didn't understand and you'd like to learn more about, ping it into the comments and I'll pick it up in a later video.